Hello students, and welcome to this video on 7.3, the power of a power. During this video today, I'm going to ask you to take notes on what you're looking at. Can you go ahead and grab a piece of paper, and at the top of the piece of paper, you can write 7.3, the power of a power. As we're going through the video today, you can take notes on what you're seeing. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to ask you to submit the notes to Canvas. Go ahead and pause the video now if you need to grab a piece of paper. Alright, so let's get started with 7.3, the power of a power. This problem that you see here is an example of the type of problem that we're going to figure out how to simplify today. So far, you know that an exponent means that you're multiplying the number that many times. So we have 2 to the power of 4 right here. You guys know that that means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 4 times. So I'm going to go ahead and write that out. I'm going to say that this is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 4 times. That's inside the parentheses. And then we still have an exponent on the outside as well. We have like double exponents here. If I want to continue to evaluate this and to figure out what this is going to equal, I'm going to say that I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 3 times. So really, I have 2 times 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 2. I have that 3 times. So this is going to be very close to the final answer. Now I have to figure out how many 2's I have all together here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 2's all together. So my final answer is going to be 2 to the power of 12. That's how to simplify this first problem here, 2 to the power of 4 to the power of 3. Simplified is going to be 2 to the power of 12. In order to simplify it, you can kind of take the steps that we just did, where you're kind of like expanding it out and figuring out how many 2's you actually have all together. But there is a shortcut that you can take. Just like in the adding and subtracting videos, we found a shortcut. Can you take a look at what we just did and see if you can figure out what shortcut you might be able to take in order to simplify this answer? The shortcut is when you take the power of a power, you can multiply the exponents. Notice we started off with a 4 and a 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So if you have the power of a power, you kind of have double exponents. It's 2 to the power of 4 to the power of 3. You can actually multiply those exponents together to get the exponent in your final answer, 2 to the power of 12. We're going to take a look at a few more example problems together so that we can kind of see how this works. For each of these example problems, I'm going to show you 2 methods to solve it. I'm going to show you what it would look like if we were actually going to expand all of these numbers, and then I'm also going to show you how to use the shortcut in order to get the answer. So let's do each one of these problems here as an example, and you can write each one of these 4 example problems on the notebook paper that you have ready. So the first one is 3 to the power of 4 to the power of 2. If I'm going to expand this out, I'm going to start by the number inside the parentheses. I have 3 to the power of 4, so that should be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times. Then I have another exponent. It's to the power of 2, which means that I need 2 of these that I just circled. I need 2 of those. So that's 1. Now we need another one. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now I'm ready for my final answer. How many 3's do I have all together? There's 8 of them. 3 to the power of 8. My original thing, I accidentally kind of crossed it out there, but the original question said 3 to the power of 4 to the power of 2. So you can kind of see our trick, or the shortcut, is you could multiply the 4 times the 2 to get the 8. So 3 to the power of 8, that's our final answer for that problem. All right, the next one, 2/7 to the power of 6 to the power of 4. So to start with, if I'm going to expand the whole thing out, it's going to be 2/7 and then 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 2/7, 6 times. Now all of this, I'm going to need 4 of them. I actually don't have enough space to write all 4 of them here. So I'm not going to expand this one fully. I'm just going to leave the little 4 there to remind myself that I actually need 4 of these. So when I count out how many 2/7 I have all together, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then remember, I need to have 4 of them. So another 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So it should be 2/7 to the power of 24. And our shortcut works for this problem as well. If you multiply the 6 times the 4, you get 24. All right, next problem. We have 2a to the power of 5 to the power of 3. So to start with, I'm going to have 2a times 2a times 2a times 2a times 2a. All right, that's 2a to the power of 5. Now let's do that to the power of 3. So we need 3 groups of this. So this is one group. Now I'm going to do another group, 2a times 2a times 2a times 2a times 2a. So that's 2 groups so far. It's to the power of 3, so we need 3 groups. So our last group, 2a times 2a times 2a times 2a times 2a. All right, now there are 3 groups of 2a, 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 2a. So now I'm going to count all the 2's that I have and all the a's that I have. Altogether, I have 15 2's and I have 15 a's. So I can write this as I have 15 of the 2 a's. There are 15 of those altogether. Notice that our shortcut still works. 5 times 3 is 15. So I have 15 2a's. All right, and the last one, we have negative x to the power of 4 to the power of 3. By this point, I'm sure you're already jumping ahead to use the shortcut. You know that it's going to be x to the power of 12, but the question is, should it be a positive x or should it be a negative x? Remember our rule for multiplying with positive and negative numbers? If you had 2 negatives, a negative times a negative equals a positive. In this case, I have 12 negative x's. I have negative x times negative x times negative x times negative x. Anytime you have an even number of negatives, like if there are 2 negatives or 4 negatives or 12 negatives, the negatives will end up canceling each other out. But if you have an odd number of negatives, then your final answer will still be negative. So in this case, they cancel each other out, and it's just going to be x to the power of 12. That's going to be our final answer for number 5. All right, now it's your turn to try a few problems on your own. All right, so these are the 3 problems for you guys to try on your own. So go ahead and pause the video. You can try these 3 problems, and then you can come back and check your answer. All right, so here's the answers. The first one is 2.3 to the power of 8. Using the shortcut, you just multiply 4 times 2 and you get 8. The next one is 3p to the power of 20. you do have to have parentheses. And the last one is y to the power of 28. Now I want to give you guys a little hint as you're learning exponents. It can sometimes be tricky to learn all these different rules at once. You guys have learned rules about multiplying and dividing, and now you're learning rules about powers of powers. And so sometimes you're supposed to add exponents together. Sometimes you're supposed to subtract them. And now in this video, we're telling you to multiply the exponents. It can sometimes be a little tricky to keep track of all those different rules. So I have a couple hints for you. Hint number one, maybe create some sort of like a cheat sheet for yourself just to help you get through this chapter where you have some of the different rules on it. Maybe you can go back to some of the other videos if you forgot, and you can write down what some of the rules are. Another hint that I have for you is if you ever forget what any of the rules are, like let's say you have this problem here where you have a to the power of 5 and then that's to the power of 2. If you forget what the rule is, my hint for you is to expand it out. What I mean by expand it out is to write down, instead of a to the power of 5, write down 5 a's. And then since this is to the power of 2, write that down 2 times. I can clearly see after I expand it out that there are 10 total a's here. So I'm going to remember not to add the exponents together. I'm going to remember to multiply them, because when I expand it out, that shows me how many exponents there should be. So that's just a little hint that you can use. If you forget what the trick is, you can expand it out, and that'll kind of help you remember. We are going to continue on with one more thing for today. We're going to try these last 4 problems that will utilize some of the different rules that you have learned so far this chapter for performing operations with exponents. If you would like to pause the video now, you can go ahead and try these 4 problems on your own, and then when you unpause it, you will hear me explain each one of these 4 problems step by step. All right, let's get started on the first one. So the first problem here says -3 times -3 to the power of 6, and all of that is to the power of 2. When I start simplifying this here, I'm going to start by simplifying what's on the inside of the parentheses, the -3 times -3 to the power of 6. I only have one -3 here, and I have 6 -3s here, so altogether I have 7 -3s. Now that is to the power of 2. So I have 2 groups of -3 to the power of 7. So altogether I have 14 groups of -3 to the power of 7. And remember, our rule is that you can multiply the 7 times 2, and that'll get you the 14. So that's for problem number 1. Now let's take a look at problem number 2. We're going to start the same way. We're going to simplify what's inside the parentheses first. I have 4 p's, and I have 2 p's. So altogether, I have 6 p's. So I'm going to simplify this by saying there are 6 p's, and this is to the power of 5. So my final answer will be p to the power of 30. All right, number 3, we have 6 to the power of 3 times 6 to the power of 3. Let's simplify that part first. If I have 3 6's and I have another 3 6's, I have 6 6's total. So this is going to be 6 to the power of 6 to the power of 7 divided by 6 to the power of 10. We're going to simplify this part here next. If I have 6 6's, but then I have 7 of those groups, I really have 42 total 6's. So I have 6 to the power of 42 divided by 6 to the power of 10. Remember, the rule for division is that you can subtract the exponents. 42 minus 10 is 32. So my final answer is 6 to the power of 32. And the last problem, we're going to start with the x to the power of 8 times x to the power of 4. Altogether, that gives me x to the power of 12. And then that's to the power of 2. On the bottom, we have x to the power of 3 to the power of 6. So we're going to simplify what's on the top, and then we're going to simplify what's on the bottom. On the top, if I have 12 x's, but I have 2 of those groups, I have 12 x's and I have another 12 x's. So altogether, I have 24 x's. On the bottom, I have x to the power of 3, 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 6 times. So that's 18 total x to the power of 3's. Now I have division. I have x to the power of 24 divided by x to the power of 18. When you divide, you subtract the exponents. So this gives me x to the power of 6. That's my final answer for this problem. All right, that is the end of this video. Remember to submit your notes on Canvas. You can just take a picture of your notes and then you can submit that picture onto Canvas. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day.